I'm Thomas. I am your president of WH6GWL. I'm a technician, and I'm happy to be here and see all the fresh faces we have today. I know we have some new members and or some new folks joining us. Thanks for coming. I know we have some folks online. Oh,
I'll bring them back.
bring back the talking heads.
Google Meet. There we go.
Burning down the house. All right. So
Can you point the camera down, Tony? They're looking at the tops of everyone's heads.
there we go. Hey, everyone.
Their way to zoom it out.
Did I go too much of a tilt?
Technical difficulties.
How's that?
Still looking at the wall. Yeah, the wall, not them. And when it points down, it's up David's nose.
So I have a remote control, but I left it at home like I always do.
I have to. Yeah, you got to bring that in so I can clone it and have it on my flipper. That way, we'll always have a remote.
Up the hair. Up the hair.
We got legs.
How long is the cable?
Pretty long. Right there. Hold that. William.
All right. All right. I can see myself, so that helps. Again, thank you for coming. Welcome. We will have amplified coverage at a later date. It is coming TBD. Where should we start off? We do have a couple of announcements.
Remember?
Yes. Maybe you start out with introductions and then do general announcements.
Are you asking or telling?
Both. I don't know anymore. Let's go ahead and actually have introductions go ahead, and then we'll do the announcements there. Just again, I'm Thomas, WH6GWL. I'm a technician. Happy to be getting my general soon. Studying and almost there. Let's just go around the room here.
Hi, I'm William, NH6ET. I'm pretty sure all of you guys know me, and if you don't, trust me, you will. Yep. There I am.
Okay, I'm David Miller, KH6CZ, and I'll be doing a little show and tell dog and pony show later on, but just stick with me. And I am a relatively new member of BARC, but I've been here a few years now. Got a few wounds to show for it, and I'll be continuing on into the new year as chair of the Education and Outreach Committee. We go out and deal with the kids at school and run nets over the air, and we usually rope somebody into running the repeater for us. So it's good educational and outreach exercise. So next we'll go to Bob.
Where am I?
I'm Bob. I'm AH6J. I've been everything except treasurer.
Is that voluntary?
Huh?
Is that voluntary?
No. I judiciously avoided that one. But I guess I started the club, started the repeaters, and that was a few years ago. Now I'm retired.
All right. Are we waiting for a camera?
No, I got it zoomed out. You can't see it at the moment.
All right, everybody. I'm Dwayne Horton, WH6 HBM, and green as green can be.
Nope.
And I'm Ed. This is the first time I've been here. I'm WH6 Golf Uniform Zulu and from HPP. And nice to meet you guys.
And you joined.
And I joined today. Yes.
Thank you. Right on. Congratulations. Here we go.
Hi, good afternoon. Mark Watanabe, WH6FSA, at-large board member, and I work on the Educational Outreach Committee with David.
Hello, I'm Fred Fisher, WH6 HAA, and I've been in this for maybe 6 months.
Right on.
Jim Tater, WH6EMN. I work with the health com and a couple other things in the club. So there you go.
I'm Sean, WA6GXC. I am current chair of digital. Also help with HealthCom. Jim over there, kind of liaison between Hilo and Kau. Great to see you all. I don't think that's pretty much all I'm going to say. Over to you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Warren White. Just paid my first dues today. I'm W6HBG. I just got my license a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations. Right on.
Frank, KH6FA. I'm down in Ocean View, and about it.
And I am Rick, WH6FC. Nice to see new faces here. And I'm in Ocean View also.
Notice that you lost audio. All right, can we interrupt for a second? Mel, you said you lost audio. Has anyone else online lost audio, or can anybody hear me?
No interruptions.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Luke, WH6GRW, amateur extra, and just been on the periphery of amateur radio for a couple of years, so you'll see me here occasionally. But nice to be here today. Thanks.
Right on.
Hi, I'm Derek, WA6GNK. We live 5 minutes from here. You can't miss our house. All kinds of poles sticking up in the sky. All right, this is May.
Hello, I'm May Lake. I'm WH6GNJ. And I live with you. With all the poles.
Hello. Oh, wow. No need this. But anyway, KH6KU, Roy, all around amateur radio junkie. And I was sitting in my truck and I was playing with a new toy. So I had to get out because if not, I'll stay there all afternoon. So I'll talk about it later. It's pretty cool. Okay, here you go.
What is the reason why microphones have automatic gain control?
Hi, I'm Joe, W6JOE. I'm the secretary of the club, and I'm the operating activities committee chair.
Good afternoon, Paul DeCast, W87BR from Volcano.
Les Hittner, and I have the baddest call in the club, K0BAD.
Everyone over here? How about people online?
Not yet, but you're in room, so.
I'm Tony Kitchen, Whiskey Hotel 6, Delta Victor India. I'm the treasurer for BIARC, and I wear a lot of different hats. Today I'll be wearing my BIARC hat as a treasurer and board member, but also I'm with the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, and that's part of ARRL. I'm the assistant section emergency coordinator for the Pacific section. Frequently, I don't put much emphasis on my different hats, and I realize that's a mistake because it's important for everyone to realize that BIARC is a club. They're a 501c6 nonprofit status club. Aries is completely separate from BIARC, although BIARC is an ARRL affiliated club. Aries is a division of ARRL, so there's kind of a marriage there, but separate entities. And also, I work with the county, so I have some hats with the county. I'm on the Community Emergency Response Admin team. I also am working with the County Civil Defense Agency's Auxiliary Communication Service, completely separate entity. So I'll try to be more diligent in explaining when I speak who I'm speaking for, because it can cause confusion. Back to you, Thomas.
All right. Well, we have everybody in the room covered. Let's go ahead and introduce our online people, the talking heads.
Gary Miller.
Gary. Oh, awesome.
Gary, which Gary? Gary Miller?
Gary Miller.
All right. Yes. KH6GM. I can't figure out how to edit that. and I can't get my camera to work. It says I don't have permission, so I'm not sure what I'm doing there. I'll keep plugging away at that. I'm a Hamakua Coast amateur extra, head of CERT for Lapa Hoi Hoi team up here, Hamakua area, and member of BIARC. That's about it for now. Back to team control.
Hey, Lee.
Lee, are you
Lee,
with
over
us?
to you. Over to you,
Hi.
Lee. There.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hold on just a second. Let me fix something here.
I heard you, Lee.
I'm gonna have to adjust the volume. Try again, Lee.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
I'm Lee Critchlow in Upper Mountain View, Lower Bloomwood, and Whiskey Hotel 6, Lima Charlie, and I'm the editor of the Big Island Amateur Radio Club Hamgram, our monthly newsletter. Back to you.
All right, Gary, WH6 EPS.
Hi, afternoon, everyone. Gary at WH6 EPS. We'll say down the street from Lee, lower Puna here, up lower Mountain View, I guess. Amateur extra, have fun on the HF bands after midnight. That's my time on the HF. I like getting on around midnight until 2 a.m. So that's I'm the night owl. Anyway, enjoy digital stuff and looking forward to the upcoming contest. So I think that'll be a good activity. Anyway, back to William, WH6 EPS.
Mel, KH6 EKD.
Mel, are you still with us?
Mel had said earlier he lost he lost the signal as far as being able to hear you guys.
Yep. All right, so I guess we'll just move on.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for coming. Welcome. We do have a couple of general announcements to start off. William, I believe you wanted to start off.
Yeah, so as the trustee, I'm in a non-elected position on the board. I serve at the will of the board in my position. I'm a voting member of the board until such time that either I resign from that position or they decide they don't like the smell of my cologne and they vote me out. As such, I volunteer every year to proctor the collection of nominations for the elected board positions and proctor the election that happens every year, which will happen in November at our annual meeting. These monthly meetings are program sessions, but twice a year we actually have to have the membership get together and take care of business like that. So I am chairing the ad hoc committee to get those nominations. The other member of the committee is Tony Kitchen over there, WH6 DVI. As of yet, we have received one nomination for the 3 openings that we had for expiring terms on the board. I'm going to do some arm twisting to see if I can get the people who are in those expiring terms to maybe consider running again, because I personally believe they've done a great job. But we are also now faced with a 4th vacancy that we're going to have to fill as Les Hittner, K0BAD, has decided that he's going to step back from an extensive career of being on the board and encourage someone else to step in and participate as he has. 2 parts of that. I would like to extend the club's deepest gratitude to Les. If you guys don't know it, Les was the architect of the current structure of the club. We revamped our bylaws and constitution just a few years ago. He led that drive. He led the committee where we all got together, and those of us on that committee put together the operating documents that structure how all this happens. He's done a lot of other really great work behind the scenes. So Les, from me and from the membership, thank you very much for your years of service. So you're going to add to the illustrious list of members who are past presidents and past board members, such as the gentleman to each side of you. But that said, we need somebody to stand up and and fill in that gap. As an individual member, I'm going to go out and talk to an individual that I think would be good for it. However, if you think that there's an individual that would be good to serve on the role and help us keep this thing going and growing and adapting, please talk to them and see if they will let you nominate them. And if they won't, nominate them anyways. And let's fill these vacant positions. We have not, since my introduction to the club in 2016, I think, had a prolonged vacancy on the board. And it has really helped the club grow and adapt. And those of you that have been around for a while know what that means. So we really do need that help in running things. So I have one nomination, and now we have 4 vacancies to fill at the November election. If you'd like to nominate, you may self-nominate as well. All you need to do is reach out to myself, NH6ET, or Tony, WH6DVI. If you don't have our email address, both of us have our ARR reflectors. And if you forget what that is, you can go to our call signs on QRZ.com or ask anyone else in this room who is on the board or is on a committee or any otherwise really active. I guarantee they've got our email addresses, probably phone numbers too. And just let us know those nominations. The nominations.
How about byarcboard, byarc.board@gmail.com?
That would work as well. I always forget about that option. So that is the board's email address. But yeah, make those nominations. You know, it'll be a lot better if we don't have to beg, but I'm not above it. If need, I'll get on my knees. I can grovel with the best of them. I've been in government service long enough to have those skills, you know, well honed. So that's where we stand on it. And that's what I need from you guys as the members. And that's what your fellow members need from you is good board members to keep this thing moving.
Thank you, William. Thank you. Yeah. So if you have any inkling or want to see anything move in a particular direction, please reach out. Reach out. There's always a spot. There was a couple more announcements, and I'm thinking, Joe.
Yep.
Just a quick announcement. Everybody's invited. BIARC will participate in the CQ Worldwide DX contest. We're having an event on October 26th from 8:30 a.m. till POW at the latest 5 p.m. The location is Waialoa State Park at the Wedding Pavilion in Hilo. It will be potluck, so we will need people to bring food, drinks, ice, coolers, tables, chairs, canopies, etc. That's all I have. Thank you.
And if anyone doesn't know, that's that gazebo out next to the big pavilion. That's the wedding pavilion. Took me a little bit of research to figure that out.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're available that day, please come on out. Bring refreshments, chair, comfortable chair if you want. Everybody's welcome and invited. Come play radio in the park with us. What else? There was some other. No.
But Sean, WH6GXC fled.
Oh.
He was the one that was going to give it. So I'll go to his partner in crime on this topic, Roy. You guys are evidently going to get together and do some operating? Where? I don't know. I was hoping you could tell us that. I have no idea. Where? Is it down there? I don't know.
Radios, little radios that you built.
Radios. I don't know. All right, we'll have to wait till Sean gets back.
It's not for the quota. It's not for quota?
Probably.
Oh, well, it was going to be.
I was hoping you knew the details because I don't.
And I guess thanks, you know, kind of bye by night. But it was okay. All right. So apparently, I think during the same time at the CQ contest, because those are on the contest bands, which is like 10, 15, 20, 40. We're gonna do POTA activation same time at Waialoa State Park on the non-contest bands, which would be like 17 meters, 12 meters. We can hope in a prayer Hail Mary 6 meters, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But anyway, 12 and 17 and 30, I believe.
So same venue, same time, 2 events.
Yes, sir. 2 for 1 deal. Yeah.
That means that you can partake in the refreshments that the board will be bringing for the CQ Worldwide.
Cool. That works. Yeah. Oh, and we'll bring the radios down too. We have the club radio, the 991A, the
And
So we
the
can
Any
get
Sound.
confirmation. Sean.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks for leaving on a limb. Here you go.
So, Sean, you'd had something that we wanted to announce to the membership, something that is an operating activity that you said you were going to put together with Roy, and we wanted to invite other members.
Talking about his antenna that he got. Where did you get that? Right.
So same day
So-
and time and location as the CQ Worldwide.
Yeah. We just want to do some off the wall, like play with some antennas. Frank, I haven't even like confirmed this. His 818, and I play with do some QRP, which for those who may or may not know is low wattage. But that being said, Roy's gonna have his antenna on wheels or HF on wheels. I got to come up with a cool name for it. What's your? I got to come up with a name for your truck. Yeah. They're gonna play on some of the other, like what, 12, 17?
17, 12?
Yeah. Some of those. And then if we got another antenna, we'll certainly want to try that out. So it's kind of the off, besides the contest type thing, a chance for young hams to try some things out.
Just to operate, just to get out there and operate. Have
Probably it
fun,
may not
try-
even
try
work
it.
very well, but we're gonna try it.
Yeah, trying's the way.
I really enjoyed this interchange because we had 3 deer in the headlights experiences in a row. Because we had Roy, and then we had Sean, and then we had Frank. That was fantastic.
Let's see. Is that for announcements?
No, we've got the set announcement next.
There we go.
Right? Yep.
You know, for the new hams, us old hams, we have a really bad habit. We use acronyms way too often and don't explain them. So POTA, Parks on the Air. What you can do whenever we use an acronym and we're not explaining it, just grab us by the scruff of the neck and shake us and say, tell me what you mean, or raise your hand. So yeah, it's a bad habit and sometimes we forget. So Parks on the Air, that's great, everyone. And then we've got Joe's CW contest. What was the date on that again? Or CQ Worldwide Single Sideband. Okay. Acronyms. There we go. That's what I wanted to get at, is what that stood for. So I've got another acronym for you. I'm putting on my amateur radio emergency service hat, and it's SET, Simulated Emergency Test, happening Saturday, 9 a.m. till noon. Statewide, but we have our own unique version here. It's basically the same thing they do everywhere else. It's just slightly tailored for our local environment. We have a very large island here. So what works over on Oahu does not necessarily work on other islands, or works, what they do doesn't necessarily work here, I guess is a better way to put it. We try to simulate a hurricane event every year. This year, it's a Category 4 hurricane. This is just a simulated emergency test. The main thing that we're focusing on is trying to get situational awareness, we call them sit reps, into the Hawaii County Civil Defense. Now, most of you know that I was at the EOC during Hurricane Hone, and we were taking messages. We were taking messages on HF, we were taking messages on WinLink, and we had VHF frequencies. We do the same thing every year. It's not that complicated. We are trying to get situational awareness to and towards the EOC by any means that we can. And this is specifically for when the telephones go out, when the internet goes out, which is exactly what happened all over the island. Over 24,000 people were down during what became Hurricane Hone recently. And I pulled a 26-hour shift, actually two shifts. And Jim was at the EOC. We had our ACS hats on. At that point in time, we were actually operating under the direction of the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency, along with Doug Wilson. who was also operating out of his station at his QTH in Volcano. And we were working together to collect information from around the island, specifically from people that had lost power, telephone, internet, and had no other way of getting that information. So one thing that is very important with that is we need to be the eyes and ears of Civil Defense Agency. They don't have very many staff, very small group, a dozen, 15. They can't see all the things that are going on across this island. And even if you bring in what police and fire and the roads crews and the other county departments know, there's a lot of things that they miss. They cannot see, they're not, what is that, omnipotent or omniscient? There's a lot that goes on that they're going to miss. And if we can bring that awareness to the county, I have watched them work. They're doing so much better now than I've seen in previous years, putting together information on the fly, planning the next operational period, and getting resources out to the communities that have been impacted that actually help people on the ground, getting power restored, dealing with road clearing, all of the things that need to happen so that people can get the help that they need in a disaster. I've sat at the EOC, I've been in the war room, I've watched how they operate. I've heard a lot of people say that comments like, oh, there's spread too thin for the police to ever help us, or they won't ever get an ambulance out to us. We have to be on our own. I don't know if anybody's heard the story about borrowing a jack. That's an old tale that my grandfather used to tell me. If you've heard the story before, you know what I'm referring to. But the moral of the story is you don't assume that somebody's not going to be able to help you. You got to have a positive attitude about this. The police chief, every operational period, when he was asked at the EOC, what is your plan? He would say, we're going to respond to each and every call for service we receive. And you know what? If you don't have a radio and you don't have phone and you don't have internet, they're not going to receive your call and they're not going to be able to respond to it. So that's why we have radios. Unfortunately, not everyone has high frequency. Not everybody is in VHF range of the EOC here in Hilo. Not everybody has WinLink radio email either. If you have WinLink radio email, you can get a message directly to where it needs to go. So yeah, there are lots of ways to do WinLink. It can be done on the Android phone. It can be done on the iPhone. You have to pay for that one. Pay for the app. I think it's, anyone know how much? $20, $30?
I believe it's
you have to pay
$25 or $30. Yeah.
That's why I don't do the iPhone. They charge you for everything. But Android's free. WinLink, the software is called RMS Express. I really hope everyone learns about it. Radio email is very important. Now, we're also supporting voice modes fully. And so the idea is that in Aries, we realize that not every person is going to study all of the forms that the county wants us to use. And they're not necessarily going to be willing to learn all about the FEMA and Department of Homeland Security, how they want us to organize under the National Incident Management System, under the Incident Command System. And so, yes, we have some dedicated volunteers who have learned these things and have gone to the ICS training courses and gone to the national level courses, but not everyone's going to want to do that. So we still want everybody, even people that have an HT, which can be challenging, but especially those with base stations or stations that are a little bit more powerful in their automobiles, to be able to feed in boots on the ground reports called sit reps to the Aries hub stations, which then transcribe those reports into the form for you. So these Aries hub stations, they can act as a relay. relay it by voice to or towards the EOC, or if I get my way, and more people I hope are learning this, they can transcribe your report directly into the SITREP form, where I can get it over radio email at the EOC in a digital format. If it's transmitted by voice, I'll end up typing it in at the EOC myself. And the reason why is it needs to get into a file, you know, whether you're giving a weather report or a report of flooding, a bridge washed out, a tree across the road, rocks have crumbled on the Hamakua Coast Highway and are blocking both lanes. Whatever that report is, I need to get the location. I need to know who it is that's calling it in, because we have to make sure it's reliable before we dispatch precious first responder resources out to deal with that, whether it's fire or roads crew or EMS or police or whoever it is. There's a very limited number of people that can respond. So we have to be very sure that this is a reliable report. And that's one of the reasons why you might be asked to confirm the location more than once. You might be asked in an emergency to give information like your phone number. And what I do with that, and what the other ACS operators will do with that, is get that into the WinLink radio email so it can be transferred digitally into the war room, is what I call it. That's the EOC center, where all the heads from the county agencies have all these big displays up on the wall, and they plan their next operational period, and they dispatch people and crews. So we had experiences where I received radio calls at this last storm, and we ended up getting repair crews out to the volcano area because our leader, Doug Wilson, he was down. All of Volcano was down, the village, and fortunately he had emergency power. But we did get crews out there, and it was an urgent situation because there was an arcing line and it was a real hazard. They would have not been able to get that report otherwise, because phones were out and internet was out. So, you know, some people think that amateur radio is just a hobby, and it is, that it's not relevant for emergency situations. But working at the EOC, I have seen just how relevant it is. So these situation reports are what we're focusing on Saturday's set from 9 a.m. till noon. If you go to biarc.net, our website, right in the middle of the page, there is a link to a website that I set up specifically for this exercise. It has a link to the sign up form. It has pictures and it has information. And I'm looking for hub stations and relays. So typically that's someone who's a little bit more experienced, intermediate level or higher, who typically would have more than one radio. So a base station on VHF and a base station on HF, or the capability of doing radio email on WinLink as well as voice would be another set of equipment that someone could have in order to be a relay or a hub station. And the idea is to get that tactical information or those situation reports in. So we're going to act like 911 operators. We have the situation report form in front of us. Certain types of questions that we'll ask will be, have you relayed this to 911? Now, of course, in an exercise, we're pretending that the power is down across the island. We're pretending that the internet is down across the island. We're pretending that we had 155-mile-an-hour winds, Category 4 hurricane, and that there's destruction and devastation across the island. And that means that the answer to that question will be no, because you have no way to call 911 because the phones are down. So the most important thing, though, is your location. That can be a street address. That can be a road, highway mile marker, Highway 11 mile marker 12.5. That could be a landmark. It could be a grid square. The gold standard is if you can do latitude and longitude. But even if you can't, that's fine. because I have software in a database where I can do real-time lookups. You give me a street address, especially, I can calculate the Latin long in 10 seconds. That data feeds into a data flow that ultimately will get combined with the CERT team's data flow. Right now, the community emergency response teams are kind of on their separate systems, but we're mapping that in real time onto a graphical information system so that we can see the map. We have little dots on the map that correspond to your reports, your sit reps that you've sent in. You can click on a dot. We see your call sign, all your information. We'll see the report. And this is what we're providing as the end product to ACS so that they can basically see that this will indeed provide them actionable situational awareness in a real emergency situation when telephone and internet goes down. So what we're asking each station to do is visit biarc.net, click the link in the middle under Aries that talks about the set, 2024 Aries set, Hawaii County version. Each community has their own communications plan, hopefully, and have been practicing in a number of communities. They practice nets weekly. And so we use, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Whatever's going on in any given community, they have the option to do whatever they think is going to work. But anybody has the option to reach out onto the HF frequency, which is 7.190 megahertz lower sideband. Here in Puna and Hilo, we'll be also operating on VHF simplex, 147.480 megahertz. All of this information is on the website. And there's the radio email side. So anybody with WinLink capability can send via any mode to Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency. That's HCCDA. And that will get into the system that way. So those are 3 of the many ways. Typically, if you're farther away from Hilo, you're going to end up going through WinLink, through HF, or you're going to have practiced a relay on simplex. We are really focusing on the simplex side of things. So we're not using the repeaters for this exercise this year. What we are doing is leaving the repeaters open for general amateur use, but we are announcing the exercise on both BIARC repeaters at 9 a.m. and every 30 minutes thereafter. And we're going to tell everybody what simplex frequency we're operating on in that local area. So for example, in the Pepakeo, North Hamakua area, they're on 146.460. This is all documented, of course. Whereas here in Hilo and Puna, we're on 147.480 for the VHF. Get those frequencies off what's called the ICS 205. Of course, everything that involves the incident command system, they have a form for it. The ICS 205 is called the Incident Radio Communications Plan. That's where we list all the frequencies that will be involved in the exercise. Sign up for the exercise. Make sure you know how to program your radios for those frequencies. And then as you go about your life for the next week, maybe print out a couple of those SITREP forms. The links are on the website, just to see what kind of information civil defense is wanting to collect. Now, they ask a lot of different questions, but you don't have to fill out, if you're not near the ocean, you don't have to give us tide measurements or say how high the waves are. Only what's relevant. Yeah, only what's relevant. So, if you have a situation report, probably the first one would be where you're at and the fact that you've lost power. That's an important thing for everybody to know. The next situation report, you could do it from your neighborhood. Maybe you look out the window and the idea is to observe in your community where hazards lie, where 155-mile-an-hour winds and 36 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, what's that going to do? And look at it based on what just happened to us in this recent Hurricane Hone, but much worse. What if the rain was double what we actually got? What kind of damage to power lines? Where is the infrastructure not solid? Where do you see bridges and culverts and things like that, low-lying areas where they haven't cleared out the debris, and you know that that's going to back up and it's going to flood the road and it's going to be impassable. We've all seen heavy storms, and we know that power goes out and roads become impassable. And you know, if they don't get good current situational awareness over there at the EOC, police or fire or ambulance could be dispatched to a road that they can't pass when they could have gone a different route and bypass it. And that could end up with some really bad impacts. So that situational awareness is what allows them to plan operations, and they do use it. The amateur radio community is not being ignored here. We have an important role to play, so I really ask that everyone visit the biarc.net website, look at what we've got planned so far. If you have the capabilities to have a base station, maybe if you can do both HF and VHF, or VHF and radio email, click the sign up button, sign up as a relay or a hub, or just sign up as a what we call a spoke. That's just someone who calls in reports. That's the simplest role. Or if you're really green and you just want to listen, you can sign up as an observer. It really helps us to know what communities have active radio operators, where you're at, because we can kind of start thinking about relay paths so that we can reach each other on simplex. But if, you know, there's over 1,000 radio operators licensed on this island, but only a small subset are active. A lot of them don't turn on their radio at all. And if we know where you're at and we know that you're active, then maybe we can have some relay pathways so that the people that have just an HT can get to a station that can get 20 miles, that can relay another 20 miles and get the information over here to the EOC, where it can help out everyone that's trying to respond to a disaster.
Personally, I did get a power outage that happened middle of the storm. In order to get any kind of signal out, I actually have to go on my front porch and use my my screen door as a backplane so that I can be heard with my HT. The only good part that I found was that I have another point of ingress for water through my roof, which I'm going to use to put a wire up so I can get an antenna on my roof. Look for the little things, but it's helpful to be able to gauge the wind speed and a couple other things. So using the links on the Civil Defense website are actually pretty helpful. It might be a way to help gauge and help the people up the road. I mean, who lost an antenna in the last storm here because of a high wind? Roy, did you lose an antenna in the winds there?
I lowered mine first.
Foresight. But yeah, no, just having a gauge on accurate wind speed and being able to relay that in is helpful. Not everybody has an anemometer, but there are ways to be able to tell and gauge the speed of things. So there are these charts, diagrams, and ways to help out with even just that. That might help you in your everyday life too, but they're all there on the Civil Defense website. And yeah, thank you for actually doing all of this. This is
so I copied, they're called reference scales. They have a wind scale, a rain scale, a flooding scale, a surf scale, and those are all linked with graphics on the website for the communication exercise coming up on Saturday. The idea is that, you know, if somebody says, oh, the waves are huge, well, what does that mean, right? And so we want to have kind of a common reference so that, you know, we can say, oh, they're head high or waist high or double head high, you know, and it's something that we can put on a report that at least gives someone an idea. You know, is the water 12 inches deep and flowing quickly, or is it 3 inches deep and stagnant? So that information does take a little bit of effort to go through it. But even if you don't look at the website and you just want to call in with a simulated situation report based on real world conditions, hopefully that you've seen in the past. I know a lot of people out there in Eden Rock area, and between Eden Rock and Ainaloa, they get flooding at some very specific spots that gets pretty bad. That kind of real world information, we'll get it on a map and we'll we'll demonstrate to civil defense that we've got working communication circuits that can continue to operate. A lot of our stations have battery backup power. We have batteries, we have generators, we have solar. I have 20 kilowatts of backup power plus a 10,000 kilowatt generator, or 10,000 watt generator, excuse me. So, you know, a lot of the stations will stay on the air, but this last Hone exercise, we had stations, some of the WinLink gateway stations, the radio email gateway stations, actually ran out of diesel fuel. And so they had to arrange diesel resupply, like when there was a lull in the storm, and we're able to do that. Fortunately, here on this island, we're partnered with the county up at the Kulani Cone repeater. I don't think that one's gonna lose power. They got a lot of diesel storage up there. Our Pepekeo repeater is, it lost power, it went down, but we're working on a bigger battery for that. So these kinds of exercises also allow us to identify our weak spots. We have an after action review. We develop an improvement plan, and over the course of the next year, we implement that improvement plan. So this is something that ARES does every year. We are trying to integrate these communication exercises more and more with the Hawaii County Civil Defense Auxiliary Communication Service. The fact of the matter is, ARES has been doing this for years now. We do typically 3 exercises a year. We have a tsunami drill, maybe March, April, May. We have the set, which is typically a hurricane, September, October timeframe. And then we have the USGS Did You Feel It exercise, which is earthquake kind report, the Did You Feel It report. So those are the 3 exercises that we've been doing each year. Our goal is to have the county being the initiator of these exercises, because that's what's happening on other islands sometimes. And, you know, we're all for that. ARES, mainly, we do training. You know, the idea is that we want to train operators. We want to make sure operators have their stations equipped and with emergency power, they know how to use them. They have a backup antenna, so that the people that are in that position to stand up in a real situation basically would be invited by the county to participate in ACS. And we would know that those are people that are trained and able to stand up in emergencies. I'm working with the lead of ACS. I'm working with several of the staff officers at Civil Defense. We're really solidifying the program, you know, getting credentials and so we can access the EOC, working on the radios in the EOC. Jim, WH6EMN, has been a big help there. He did a survey of the antennas recently at the EOC. We have a lot of work to do, but we've got a working relationship and things are going in the right direction. So does anyone have any questions at this point about what we're doing and why, or operational questions?
Got one, maybe too technical for the venue, but we really want to practice using WinLink when there's no power and no internet. Do you have any recommendations on how we can, you know, do that in the most efficient way to get stuff to the DOC?
So I use the 12-volt lithium batteries, LiFePO4 batteries. Anywhere from a 20 amp hour to 100 amp hour will work, depending on how long you want to operate. I like using my B-Link. I have these little Windows computers that run off 12 volts. That's my preferred way. You could do a laptop too. I really like to do it with Windows. You can use an Android tablet, but I think Windows is easier. When hooking up to the radio, some people use a signal link. I like the DRA boards from Master Communications when I'm doing VHF. So I'll actually, from my laptop, USB connection to one of those DRA interfaces. It's just a sound card, analog to digital interface. And then you have a audio connector coming out that's going to plug into the back of your radio. That could be a DIN, a mini DIN. It could be something that goes into where the mic goes that can activate push to talk. Go ahead.
follow up to your question or clarification, were you asking how the best way to practice it with your current setup is?
So personally, yes, but I think there's a lot of people that don't have that as well. So,
Okay. How often does the power go out at your house? You're on HECO, right?
I've got battery backup.
Okay.
So I'm okay, but who do I talk to?
So you
Get on the
send,
tech net on the 7.6 repeater at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Okay, so this is why it might be too technical. If I go on RMS Winlink website, look at the map, I see a list of gateways. Some of them are hybrids that have, internet uplink, some are just radio only. If I start calling out to those, 90% of the time I don't get a response. So either that's my signal problem or that they're not online at that moment. How do I practice? What's the way that I can get information on somebody that I can talk to that the county will then be able to, ACS will be able to talk to actually get that message?
so we're using the gateways.
asking.
We're using the gateway system. We're using the tactical call sign HCCDA, and I'm monitoring that tactical call sign to receive. Basically, you can get there from any RMS gateway that's online. So the fastest way is to use VHF through a local gateway. The most reliable way in a real disaster is probably going to be HF. So the idea is that you would have both. Personally, I like using the station in Las Vegas. It's actually, it's right above a brothel in Las Vegas is what I've been told. It's been very reliable for me. The thing about it is that they've got multiple connections to the internet at the EOC. The EOC is not going to go offline, okay? People who say that it is, maybe if there's a massive nuclear war, coronal mass ejection that directly hits us, something like that, maybe. But or an act of terrorism, potentially, but we won't talk about that too much. Because I don't want to draw any illusions about how strong or insecure our fiber optic network is that we all depend on so much. But we do have backups. There is the Starlink system that's being deployed across the island. There is AT&T FirstNet. Of course, it's got weaknesses as well.
Well, and of course, the EOC has the ability to be connected through the DoD satellites. So if the DOT lost connection, number one, I'm no good at my job. And number two, we're all down to simplex anyways.
Yeah, there's just a lot of options that they have. Microwave, fiber, satellites, So we got to depend on the county remaining online. Now, maybe their P25 phase 2 system for public safety could go down in certain areas, right? And in that case, we become even more essential. But the EOC location itself, unless there's a really major, 9.8 earthquake or something, that's a pretty solid building. So that's the assumption that we're operating under, is that they still have internet connectivity. And that's why we're using the RMS gateways. On Oahu, they don't do that. They're doing peer-to-peer. And that's because it's more feasible for them, given the size of the island and the geography. We have some really challenging terrain over here. So we're using the RMS gateway. If all you can do is telnet, do telnet. But we really are encouraging everyone to try the radio pathways, either VHF or HF. I think that in general, we've depended on our repeaters here too much. And that's why we're focusing this particular exercise on VHF simplex pathways. We want to keep it simple, doing normal relays. Lots of groups have practiced this. I don't get involved in the practice of that. Yeah, I see the reports that come through sometimes as to who's relaying to whom and how well they did, but I don't micromanage.
So other than during the set, does Aries have practice nets at any other time that could be used for this?
As a matter of fact, there is a WinLink training that happens. You're doing it every week or every other week? Every other week. What's the call? No, it doesn't sound like it. Yeah, it's VAN, NH7IT. Yeah. So So it's a week-long practice typically. So he might send out an assignment to do something on WinLink, and he's done all kinds of fun stuff. Like if you want to use WinLink to recover the latest hurricane watch or weather report from the National Weather Service, there's a way to do that on WinLink. So he does different practices. He's done practices where you practice using the check-in form, the station checkout form, and we use the GIS mapping forms for check-in and check-out. And the Hawaii County Civil Defense forms, everybody has trouble finding them. They're under standard forms, Hawaii state forms, and then you got to click that little plus next to HCCDA. And that's where the county forms are. And there's the SITREP, the RFA, which is request for assistance, and there's the RFI, which is a follow-up on an RFA. So it's not just to ask civil defense random questions, it's to follow up on a request for assistance. But we're focusing on the SITREPs because we're mapping them and we want to map in real time. And hopefully, if I get my act together, I'll be able to publish that map out in real time. Things don't go well, I'll be publishing it after the exercise is done. But so you can see your reports come up as dots on the map. I'll probably be pushing it out to Google Earth just so I can more widely spread it around and send everyone a link. Anyone else?
Well, I'll just give the suggestion that if you operate off of your emergency power while doing that, it would help, prove your situation out and get you a little bit of muscle memory.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can run off battery power, that's the way to go. Because you don't really know. You try to send at least 3 situation reports in that period of time from 9 to 12. You can do more if you want, but 3 is a good number. That'll keep me busy typing in data if it's not coming in through WinLink. And that's what I want. I want us to be busy enough that we're going to have to tell stations to stand by and instead of having to wait for them to give us reports. We want to keep busy on those keyboards. We want to feed information in. Civil Defense is working with other groups too. So the Vibrant Hawaii group is another group of volunteers. They're using Telegram and they're just feeding data. Everybody is typing what they're seeing, what's happening in their communities into this Telegram channel. And then they've got moderators that will comb through that stuff in real time and decide what goes to civil defense. And that's our competition. Another competition is artificial intelligence. So civil defense has asked me to look into crowdsourcing all the social media channels. And in fact, it's scary how possible this is. There's already people doing it. So we're talking, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, WhatsApp, all that stuff, all the data feeding live, real time from every social media post, and artificial intelligence engine scans it, decides what's credible, and gives a situation report to civil defense automatically. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem to be very reliable as compared to people that you know and trust, that live in the community, because disinformation from places like China and places like Iran was a real thing in the Maui wildfire disaster. The fire was not started by lasers from space. It was not intentionally started by the government. I know that for a fact because I was involved with that whole situation happening over there. A lot of disinformation that does a lot of destruction on social media. I'd rather have our county depending on trusted amateur radio operators with emergency power that know what they're doing to get these informations in to the county for situational awareness.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Question, Rick.
Yeah. Can you make sure that the next time you have HF up and operating on a real event? Because I tried checking in several times to hear, actually I was getting reports back from people on the mainland who were, coming back to my call. I only found out later that you guys had shut down the HF, and I'm just wondering if, just for the benefit of those of us who live outside of the Hilo area and outside of the range of repeaters and other VHF communications, that there'll be an effort to be on the air.
Yeah, so we did have a couple of problems. Doug's station on 7.190 did have some technical difficulties, and we did not have enough people in time to run all the shifts. So we ran a shift from noon till about 9 p.m. and we shut down overnight. So
my observations, we didn't have enough volunteers to run the nets. Sure.
that was it. And
But I'm just trying to say that I'd like to put out that concept that that's really important. Yeah, no, it was. You know, they only have that. From the outside, I saw that they played it, and they just didn't get anyone to step up to the plate and run the nets.
so we actually were monitoring the HCCDA tactical call. And I got all the reports in the morning that came through that way. But the HF, we did not have enough operators to stand up that overnight period. That's why, you know, these exercises like the Aries exercise that Seth's doing, why we really want to reach out to the HF operators, because on that particular band, you know, we all know it takes a lot more money and a lot more experience to operate there, especially when you want someone to be able to do both 40 and 80. Not everybody, there's a small subset of people that can do that.
The whole thing with Rick talked about when everything went down and yesterday and doing all that stuff. You know, a lot of us were monitoring the 7.6 repeater. Was there any announcements made as far as asking for volunteers to step up for the HF side? I didn't hear it. So that was 40 meter capable the whole time, but I didn't know you believed it because it's kind of set aside.
The problem with that is that after the fact, it's too late.
Yeah, but during the whole thing, you can still, you know, did nobody announce during the.
There wasn't anybody to make the announcement at that point.
On the 7.6.
Joe was the next door on the 7.6. He lost power. His new tower right now. He went down.
And then I had KH6RDO running 2 repeaters,
Yep, but then he lost power and went down.
but he had backup.
Yeah, and he did, but during those gaps, I actually, as just a relay station, because I can't devote myself to being net control operator because I'm monitoring the public safety systems. I actually took relay traffic, and then when RDO came back up, I passed it to him. You know, but you know, at that point, there was no way for that message to get to me to put it out on 7.6 as a relay saying, hey, they need more HF operators.
I think that shows that in a real emergency, there's still a lot of stuff that needs.
There is, but really that stuff, a procedure for that, and also getting volunteers lined up needs to be hammered out before the incident, not in the incident.
Right. So that's why we do exercises like this. That's why we ask you for a sign up, you know, to sign up. You got to demonstrate some commitment. You can't just show up on a rainy day and say, hey, I'm here to save the world, you know?
That's something amateur radio operators have a really bad reputation for. I've told the story before when I was the incident commander during the floods, and I think it was 2014 in Colorado, massive 500-year, 1,000-year flood. The local amateur operators, their club showed up at my incident command post, my ICP. So we're here to help. So who are you? Oh, we're the local amateur club. Okay, you're self-deploying to my incident. Get the fuck out of here. And I literally threw them out of my incident because they were just in my way, taking up my time and my resources. We really could have used them if they had been involved in the process and we had known about them, or somebody had known about them, and this could have been brought in. But you cannot self-deploy in an incident like that, even in this case. There has to be some coordination, planning, and commitment, like Tony said.
And so this is our opportunity to coordinate and demonstrate commitment. You know, once you've participated, we actually, we are doing the position task books, basically, where we're going to be able to sign off on people as having certain skills. You know, there's certain basic standards. An ICS 309 communication log, for example, write down, you know, the time, who you talked to, who you are, what was transmitted. That's kind of important. And if people have never filled one out before, it's kind of a problem because you're not going to just remember in your head who you've reported to what and what got relayed and what didn't. So those communication logs are pretty important. The hub stations, we're asking them to fill out ICS 214 activity log. It's basically you say, I set up my station, here's who was at it, You know, I was on emergency power. The major events. Tree fell on my station at 1400 hours and I went offline till 1600 when I put a new antenna up. I closed my radio station at 2200 hours. That's an activity log. I get to fill out all the fun paperwork, which is like the ICS 204, where I say what we are planning to do, which stations I expect to stand at. Because civil defense needs to know, you know, do I have a station in Kau or not? Right now it's not. And so, you know, I really hope that I can get people to want to be involved because now is the time to strike when the iron is hot. I actually spent time with Mayor Roth. He was very happy with what we were attempting to do. Talmadge Magno, Director of Civil Defense, he's on board. Several of the civil defense staff officers. I got to speak with, you know, the head honchos at Helco, Roads Department, Fire, Police. You know, we have never had this level of access before at the EOC. It's taken years to get us to this point. And without stations standing up in the field, it's not going to do us much good. So, especially on the HF side. Why not?
Because like you just said, I'm not qualified to call in. So all of a sudden now it's better if I don't call. So you don't have anybody in Kau. I had 12 operators on the air. And I set up ACS to begin with. So it's not like I'm not educated. But apparently HF doesn't seem to be important, right? That's all my point is. And I think it's really a good idea. And I don't care about why it didn't happen this time. I'm just asking to please put an effort into having HF to operate because we have a community at the other end of the island that needs that help.
Okay, well, WH6EMN is going to be operating on 7.190. He'll be operating out of Hilo. Yes, Joe?
I'm mistaken. I thought it's 7.090.
7.090 is the net ran by Joe Tabra, and that's on Oahu. And that's just a general situational awareness type net where ham radio operators are talking to other ham radio operators. That is not the official relay path.
If you mistakenly went to that net, he would direct you to the correct frequency for the net you were looking for. Right.
So 3.895 lower sideband is the frequency for 80 meters. And I cannot solve everyone's problem as to why, you know, somebody was not able to get to somebody else on HF. That has to happen on nets, you know, outside of exercises.
Yeah, remember, this is done for or with the amateur radio community.
Tony got a call at 3 o'clock in the morning. He asked to stand up for net in the EOC at noon. We arrived with the EOC, no radios on site. The cables were in the ceiling. We sat up, we pulled our cables out of the ceiling after we found them. Found we only had one connector to work, one coax, and we had to just do one antenna. Okay, and we had the radio that we brought in. Tony brought in my radio. So we had one HF and one from the VHF radio. He decided that it was VHF because it said we were going to get more traffic. Stood down at night because they were told by the administrator in the EOC to stand down.
If we would have had operators, we would have been able to continue operating.
On that front of the notice to get into that space when they're the place had been on. Completely, they take everything out, put the radios as far as we know are in the civil defense warehouse somewhere. The cables are up in the ceiling or attached to the air. And yeah.
And so curious, are they still in the back room or did they run them all the way to Bill's office?
They're in the back room.
Paul is, we actually got our two ham radio coax cables were no good. Either of them were functional. We managed to get one of all the CAP out cables working on Marriott County. And we don't work. So, and then Paul has given us permission to use their antennas and their cables. So this was something that happened on very short order with little notice and an unanticipated lack of equipment on site.
But since then, we're taking steps to schedule to get up on the roof. We have to schedule with the police department to go through their station just to get up on the roof. check out the antennas, the coax. There's a lot of groups that have kind of abandoned their coax. Really nice cabling that we think we'll be able to use. And Rick, you are more than qualified to do this kind of operation. It was on our side, I think, that we needed to have more than one station to cover that. And so we need more volunteers. I think it's a chicken and the egg thing, because in the past years, civil defense has not made the effort to stand up. Amateur radio operators haven't made the effort to stand up. Now it's a new day, and I'm saying we're working with civil defense. We're getting their equipment online. They've asked me to make recommendations on new equipment to purchase. They have a budget for it. We're getting access to the antennas on the roof, to the coax in the ceiling, and we've got workstations for our people to work at. And this is all new. This has not happened in years past. In years past, there was a time when they did not want to work with volunteers, period. But the mayor's on board, civil defense director's on board, staff officers are on board, and we're making progress. So we need to have everybody kind of think about it again and think, you know, maybe we can make it work. I think we can. And yes, HF has been our weak spot, but we will do better. Anyone else?
Right about now, I'm going to suggest that we take a short break. Call it about 10 minutes.
Oh, so you're not doing the key thing.
There, we have one announcement at least about Grid Madness and how it is back. That's been a club staple for years. Shoot. Yeah, Gare, did you have something to announce about that? Was that you? Who did you say had the best info on it?
Is Jeremy there?
Jeremy. Jeremy.
I am Jeremy, KH7CN. Grid Madness is on September 22nd, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. The bands are 6 meters, 2 meters, 220, and 440. FM, and I believe it's digital also, like C4 FM or D-Star, but majority is FM. For the state of Hawaii, make as many contacts in the state of Hawaii.
Thank you. That's one of those things that I know went away for a couple of years there. But yeah, now that things are back in flow, yeah, everybody participate, have fun. I know we were going to talk about WinLink a little bit, because we do have a WinLink station for the actual club that was donated by a member that is no longer with us, in the sense that he moved away, not, you know, left us. Yeah, he's not Silent Key, but we do have the gear to set it up. So it is a bear of a system. Apparently we will have it up and running soon enough. We don't have an exact timeline, but we do have the gear.
Because then crowd can mostly see it, and the screen might be able to see it.
Oh, you know what? We have this too. Aha. If you look at my screen, this is the setup that's currently on a bit of wood, but it does have Anderson power poles. Just everything's all set up and ready to go. We just need a working internet connection and a stable place to put it, and an antenna. It has been with a couple of members, and soon enough we'll have it up and running.
So, So not all of the WinLink stations you connect to are on a piece of plywood. This is how Jim, then WH6FQI, now N1FQI, chose to have it done, because he was operating in a shipping container, and he was able to magnetically attach this to the wall of the shipping container, which was very convenient. But these are the basic elements that you need. Of course, you need a power supply. In this case, it's an AC to DC power supply. It's a Duracom capable of 18 amp continuous. That's feeding the power distribution block that's down there in the corner. Interesting side note, we're working on putting together a club build project where we're going to spin our own PCB boards and make our own cases, hopefully, and then we can all come in and make our own rig runner style DC power distributors with these Anderson power poles like that.
Just like that.
Look forward to that to come in maybe about January or February. But yeah, so we got the power distribution, and then he added a voltage monitor there because he was also operating this at times off of battery. So this current setup doesn't include the battery, but the ideal setup would include the battery. And then you've got the analog to digital converter. This is the part that takes the analog sound and makes it into the digital signal that we're processing and sends it into the computer. Believe it or not, that's a full Windows computer in that little case right there. So it's running Windows, and that's why we can run the VARA FM modem and the packet modem and all of that on there for the RMS station. It's because we've got a Windows computer that's operating here. And then the analog to digital computer feeds over here. The cable's currently not connected, but and it interfaces with this Motorola CQWW 1250, I believe, radio. It doesn't have to be that Motorola radio. That's just a very easy radio to interface with, which is why I think Jim chose it. As long as you can get the audio signals in and out, and preferably also the PTT and the core, of course, the direct operated box, you can use any radio. These are the core components of a WinLink station that you as the user are calling into to check your WinLink messages, unless you're using your HF rig or something like that. But there, the elements are still very similar. Thomas, you want to show me your little baby rig there?
Yep, this is my little travel rig. I do have a little VTech DMR radio that's VHF, UHF, and DMR. And it does have the ability to use a Kenwood style connector.
Pose for the camera so Lee can take a screenshot.
Of course, Lee. I have my Kenwood style connector, and it goes to my DigiRig. I have one of the DigiRig mobiles. So this is a full sound card, and it has serial output and audio output, so it can key. I'll send you some pictures, but so it can key in and actually use multiple different radios. You're not stuck with one system. You can actually buy a cable setup for this little box that takes your audio and your serial connection and converts it to USB-C. So you can just plug it into your Android, or I guess the newer iPhones have USB-C as well.
Yes, it does.
That's a new thing to me, but yeah, you can use that and connect it up to any Kenwood style interface. And it doesn't have to be a BTEC. I bought the cable from them because that was the most affordable option. But I've seen this used for ATRS and as well as WinLink and a few other things.
Yep, and that Kenwood style interface he's talking about, that's the interface that goes in the side of your portable radio, so you can use a speaker, microphone, or other accessory. And it's got the 3.5 millimeter and then the much smaller, I don't remember what size that is. If you need to look it up, that's called a K1 connector, a K1 connector. And it's used on Yaesu radios, Baofeng radios, some Motorola radios. It's probably the most common one used.
Yeah, most Chinese radios use them. And I mean, you're going to just get your feet wet in the system there. That's a good way to go, because you're not going to get pigeonholed into using one of the newer Motorola style connectors where it's only going to work on a Motorola and maybe a one BGC or whatever that new radio system is out. But this is the key right here, is having a DigiRig. Now, Signalink and a couple other things, they make a bigger box where it's essentially still just a sound card going to a serial connection, so it can hit the push to talk on your radio, so it can output packets of info.
Well, can't you also use that with other radios to do like HF digital modes?
Sure,
Roy, weren't you just talking about this thing?
I just got mine yesterday. And I hooked it up. It's currently hooked up in my mobile to my Yaesu 891 HF mobile rig.
So you have one of these style cables right here.
Yeah, and it's running FT8 on my iPad.
Yep,
there we go. A contact to Sweden with my mobile.
Yeah, it's that simple. And yeah, this is one of the Yaesu style cables. And the kicker with this is that it's not just a sound card that you can use for digital comms. You can also program your radios with this. So as long as you have an interface cable between this and your handheld, or your mobile rig, or even your base station at home, which would be essentially something like this, you don't have to buy these too. You can make them. All of the schematics for these are on the internet somewhere. And most of the time, they're actually on the DigiRig website in the forums. So if you have a particular radio that you want to interface with, and you can't find the cable, or you don't want to spend $60 on that cable, and you have a regular stereo jack that has 4 poles, a TRS connector, and well, one of the connectors that goes to your radio to key it up, or if you use sound, you can just make one yourself. As long as you have the right parts around and the will to do it, do it.
But if you can't, there's plenty of people making them for you.
Yeah, yeah. Just don't forget a ferrite. Always use a ferrite.
So,
the Easter style bins are only $30 from
Yeah.
DigiRig. It's
Yeah.
not that bad.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy the drinks, get it.
Yeah,
It's worth it.
totally
Yeah.
worth it.
Mine was the DJ rig plus the actual cable for plug into the data port of the back of the radio to the 2 plugins.
Yep.
The total cost was $79.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a new mobile version. Like, this isn't mobile. There's a smaller version now where it
That's the one
actually
I have.
has you have the
It's
new
tiny.
one.
It's smaller
It's
than
smaller
that.
than this. Yeah, and it essentially has the USB already connected to it. And then I do believe they give you you can either USB-C or use the USB-A.
I did C.
You just use C for
I
yours
plugged into that.
to an iPad. So
Yeah.
it's that simple. Yeah.
all right. So who remembers the old days of sound card modes when we actually had to use the sound card and other methods to key and stuff like that? That was not that long ago.
Yeah.
This is kind of amazing.
It is, honestly.
Quick question. That doesn't have the cat control with it, right? You still need a cat control?
Nope, it does. It does. In fact, there's an option where you can open up the case of this particular version, and you can enable cat control, or you can disable it with just bridging 2 contacts on the board. So you can order it preset to do cat control.
Yep.
But,
So you could do cat control and do stuff like a frequency hopping WinLink node with it. You could do cat control and just have all sorts of fun, or you can disable it or not have to rely on it if you have a rig that doesn't use or offer the ability for cat control and still operate it through core and PTT.
options are, yeah.
So
Insane.
if you'd ever wondered what was on the other end of the wavelengths when you were checking your WinLink email, it's something like this. And if you want to know a little bit more about this, we're going to do a work party to refurbish this and then get it installed in its new home, which is at David's QTH. The date is not set yet, but if you would like to know more about it or see how that stuff happens, please reach out to myself or Sean, the chair of the Digital Systems Committee, WH6GXZ, who I think has already departed, or David, and let us know that you're interested in the work party, and we'll make sure that you're included.
One more quick thing. I believe I'm going to try and make it so it's out there for everyone. The beta testing of the Discord channels already happened. It works. It's great. The new version does not have as many people on it yet, but look for an email because I'm going to twist Tony's arm into sending out a group invite. That way everybody can just click on it and be a part of that forum. I like using Discord because it's an open forum where the stuff that you put out there for the world to see is going to be there. It's not an email chain where it might get buried 30 emails deep and then you're looking for info that you can't find anymore. I have everything all sectioned off into an HF to WinLink. Shoot.
There's repeaters. There's, I mean, there's what, like 15 or 20 different categories
With
We can
more,
have more.
yeah. Anytime there's something that we can think of, I can add another category to it. That way there's another channel where you can discuss something freely. That way you can have another forum of info.
And we have one that is just for rabbit chewing.
Yep. And then there's also voice channels as well. So you can always be doing something on the radio and still be able to talk via internet connection to somebody else or the whole group. We could have absolutely everybody on one voice channel at the same time.
And we may end up experimenting with that voice channel and seeing how we can integrate that over the air.
Which I can only see good things coming of that. I mean, as far as the not being able to hear in the back row type of thing too, we might be able to set it up so if you have a pair of headphones and you're logged into the Discord, you can just hear just as well.
No, I want to pipe the audio off of these microphones into an amplified device, which is washed through the same DSP.
beware.
Sounds fun.
We're gonna have to turn down your hearing aids when we make that happen, but it'll work. It'll work. It's gonna be great. But I think that might.
One last thing.
Oh, one more thing.
You guys may have heard that there's a gateway that allows you to use All-Star Link to get on the Kalani repeater now. Here in a couple of weeks, when I get back from my next trip, that is actually going to get opened up for public use. We had to do a lot of testing on it. Another good use of the Discord, it's revolutionized how we do those projects. So you can follow along and even participate and collaborate on those projects. So that is now an option. And right along a few weeks after that, the repeaters will finally be linked as well. So that'll be a gateway into the linked repeater system. So look forward to more information on that.
One more thing. Discord is just a service. It's not paid for. You can pay for an upgraded version of it that gives you upgraded stickers or some such nonsense. Don't buy into that. Just go ahead and make an account. If you already have an Amazon account, you already have a Discord account. You just don't even know it. It's kind of like having a Gmail account.
Stickers suck. They wouldn't come back up as
Yeah, I know. Most of the time, you can't even edit them. I think I waved at you 3 times this morning, and I was trying to
just
delete
whited
one.
out the last one I used and stuck another one over it.
There you go. Yeah,
Screen's getting a little crusty though.
good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, again, don't forget about the upcoming elections. And if you have anybody that you would like to see take one of the roles of the board that is up for grabs, please twist their arm. Make it happen. If you want to be the one, you can self-nominate. I'm not the type to self-nominate myself, so.
It's public service. I hereby nominate you.
Oh man, I think that, okay, well, I'm in it then. Anyway, I look forward to seeing more of you.
Nominate themselves?
Shouldn't have said anything. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for showing up and being with us. I look forward to seeing you all next time.